to create a market that serves the needs of our customers, our local community, and the environment. That's why we've made the commitment to power our store with Sonoma Clean Power's Evergreen electricity service. Just like the Mendoma community, Evergreen is unique. It's the only service of its kind in California. It serves up 100% local renewable energy, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit Surf Market's website, surfsuper.com, to learn more about our commitment to clean, renewable energy and how you can help build the clean energy future by becoming an Evergreen customer. Local farmers, organic foods, renewable energy. Surf Market has been proud to serve our community since 1956.
Surf Market and Sonoma Clean Power, partners in clean energy.
Good morning and welcome to Peggy's Place. I'm your host today, Lindsey, sitting in for Peggy Berryhill, who has the week off on vacation, much needed vacation. And we have an excellent show lined up for you today with two of the top experts on this planet of whales and seals study. That's Scott and Tree Mercer. They're hanging out on Zoom with me from the East Coast. They'll be coming up in just a moment. We've got a few announcements first to make. An important news announcement first about the Manchester Grange. The state is ready to give the community back the keys to the Grange along with $15,000 to reopen it. But they need 11 plus members to open that, and it's $40 a year to be a member. And there is a meeting about this tomorrow, Wednesday, July the 21st. It is July 20th, Tuesday today, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. So tomorrow, Wednesday, the 21st, the State Grange president will also be presiding. And again, they are ready to turn over the keys. If there's enough turnout, they can seat the board at that time. So just a heads up about that. Also, I'd like to let you know about the fire that's burning over in Butte and Plumas County. It's over 30,000 acres currently. It is near where the footprint of the Paradise Fire was back in 2018. You know that people there are a little bit rattled about that, but there are lots of people on this fire. They've got over 141 engines. They've got 29 water tenders, 23 helicopters, and over 2,400 personnel working on this. Even a train. The train is going into some of the remote areas to fight the fire with fire crew. So that's over in Butte and Plumas counties. And for more information, look up CAL FIRE on Twitter. It's one of the best ways to get there. They also have Facebook pages too, but there's a specific one for Butte County CAL FIRE. And going on to some of the events in the area, we've got the Mendocino Music Festival this week. And for more information, go see mendocinomusic.org. They can, if you want to attend, that is, you can do either in person or online. And they will give you information about how to do that. If you want to attend in person, it's at the Cotton Auditorium in Fort Bragg. And let's see, that's going to be all of this week. There is even Symphony in the Redwoods, or Symphony of the Redwoods, that is going to present an outdoor summer concert up in Fort Bragg at the Mendocino Coast Botanical Gardens this Saturday, I believe it is. It's the 25th. So is the 25th, is that Saturday or is that? I have to look at my calendar. Hang on one second, folks. 25th is Sunday. So that's Sunday there up at the Mendocino Botanical Gardens. And then here in the Sea Ranch at Linda Design Gallery, they've got over 15 artists who are going to be exhibiting this Saturday, just like they did last Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. or by appointment. And that is Linda Design Gallery. At Wallala Arts, they're going to have a chamber concert, a Roy Bogus tribute, and that's going to be outdoors in the amphitheater. There's tickets at Wallala Arts and the Dolphin Gallery on Friday up in Point Arena during the farmers market for about 45 minutes. They're going to have fun for all, fun for the family especially. It's a free circus It's a show for all ages. Coventry and Calusa, they met when they were in the Clown Conservatory at the San Francisco Circus Center, and they have been performing ever since. And so you can imagine there's going to be juggling, acrobatics, music, and super duper hula hooping. Boy, dog tricks and more. That's this Friday, 3 to 3:45 p.m. in Point Arena at the Point Arena's Farmers Market in the general store parking lot. On Saturday, last announcement here, down at the Ocean Cove Bar and Grill, they're going to have live music with the Rhythm Drivers, and that's High Energy Blues Band. Sounds like right up my alley, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. There at the Ocean Cove Bar and Grill. And that will do it. And it's time now for our guest, Scott and Tree Mercer of Mendoma Whale and Seal Study. We're going to start with you, Scott. Good morning.
Morning. How's my volume?
You're perfect.
Oh, great. Okay.
We're both wearing blue.
Yeah, we are.
And I just want to let everybody know too that we are live on YouTube again today. So if you'd like to watch this show in progress and be able to see Scott and Tree, then just go to YouTube and just search for our call letters, KGUA. And this is KGUA in Walla, California, on the southern Mendocino coast, right across the bridge from the Sonoma County coast. And again, I'm your host, Lindsey, and good to see you again, Scott. I've missed you guys. You're back on the East Coast now.
Yes, we are. We've missed you all too. Yeah, it's been wet back here. Unlike in California.
Here, we could certainly use that, especially that fire.
I think we're about 4 inches above normal right now with rain here in Maine. And there's been even more down toward Boston. So yeah, things are very green and wet. And but nice and sunny today though for a while here. May have thunderstorms tomorrow night.
So did you get your run in?
Yeah, we did. We got Billy out this morning. Irish for we have a nice 3-mile run across the street here and up another road that you don't see a house until you get about 1.5 miles up the road. So we go up there and then turn around and come back. We get a nice 3-mile run and then we go to the gym. So
well, you really get your workout.
Yeah, people say, what are you doing back there? And I say, well, we exercise. That's what we're doing.
How far away are you guys from the water?
Probably, well, to drive, it's about 2.5 miles. If we just, if we could fly straight over the trees, we'd probably be there in about less than a mile. So not as close as we are there in Mendoma. We're about 400 yards up on Iverson from the ocean there, but not as close as here. And we're not as close as we are there by any means.
Well, I've seen on your Facebook page, Mendoma Whale and Seal Study, you did an update back in early June about what has been reported from here, because we have so many citizen scientists who've been sending reports. You want to give us a little update since then, or even that update would be good too?
Well, sure. Yeah, Jean Jackson, of course, been very good about sending us things that she receives. And
yeah, she told us about Spotlight, the whale that Sherry Ebby Goforth Eby. I'm sorry, Sherry, I just slaughtered your name. That Sherry had named Spotlight and that she had seen and reported. Jeannie and I talked about that on the show the other day.
Yeah, that was a great interview with Sherry. I don't know if Sherry, I don't think she's very modest. I don't think she mentioned that she's our co-author at a big international conference coming up in December in Florida. We have 2 presentations in, and she's co-author on one of them, which is based around her photography, the photo identification of the gray whales in the area. Excellent. And she sent me an email that I received about 10:30 last night, our time. She had photographed Portobello, a whale that she's named off of, I think it was the lighthouse area.
Portobello, I like it.
Quite a bit of wind there. Yeah, she's coming up with some good names, and I think a lot of them are her own names, and she's not necessarily using some of the catalog names that other people are using, which doesn't matter at all. Whatever's easiest for her and us to use is great. she had that whale, and see, I've also had reports from Sarah Grimes up in Fort Bragg at the Noyo Center for Marine Science. She had reported humpbacks up in that area and some gray whales around McCarricker Beach. And what Gene sent me was interesting. Eric Zetterholm, I never get his name right, the photographer there in Gualala, he had photographed a whale, and I thought it was this past June until I read the email slower, and apparently it was a year ago. He was up on Meyer Grade and photographed, he saw it below and photographed from up there, which is pretty good. Goes couple miles like aerial surveys, because we sometimes go up there and look for a day, and it is like your own drone. You're so high up, but he photographed the whale, a series of shots, and it turned out to be a blue whale. Gene sent me the photos, and when I enlarged or did a full screen on the last one, it was definitely a blue whale, you know, quite close to shore there if you could photograph it from Myers Grade, and it was headed north, it looked like. So even though that was a year ago, that's significant. We do see them from Point Arena Lighthouse Peninsula, where we sat with you that day.
Right.
On some occasions. And David Tettleton, who friend of ours from Gualala, he's out fishing quite a bit when he's not climbing trees. And I got an email from him the other day.
Yes, I met him.
Yeah, that he I was seeing a lot of anchovies in the area. So if the wind ever calms down, I told Sherry that last night to keep an eye out offshore too for humpbacks and finback whales who'd be feeding on the anchovies.
That's what I was trying to remember the other day when I was talking with Jeannie. I said, I don't think they were krill, but they were anchovies that you had told me about before that they feed on.
Yeah, the small fish, the anchovies that feed on krill. So if the anchovies are up there, they're eating too. So they're probably feeding on krill themselves. You know, small schooling fish like that travel in the cajillions when they move.
Really?
Yeah, and they feed lots of things.
They do. And then the migration of the whales is going north currently. Is that correct?
Yeah, and those large whales will follow the food up. And as long as the anchovies move north, so will they. Now, the blue whales are not above feeding on schooling fish when it's available, but they do prefer krill, the small invertebrate zooplankton, animal plankton. It's very shrimp-like, and they do prefer krill, and they'll feed on that, which the anchovies probably also feed.
Right. I was partly right. Yeah.
Well, no, you were right. Yeah, just a matter of the who's chasing who in the food chain.
Exactly. And so you were just in the middle of telling us about what Dave had seen, and repeat that part again so that
Yeah, Dave Tettleton does a lot of fishing out of Fort Bragg, I believe. He's going because of the size of his boat. I think he goes out of Fort Bragg. He always did. And he supplies some of the locals with salmon, including our neighbors, Fred and Janet McElroy, who also have their eyes on the water all the time. And David told me that due to the, when he cleans the salmon, he's finding a lot of anchovies, or he's just seeing anchovies in the water. But he told me a lot of anchovies are up. And that's one reason the salmon are in such good shape up in our area.
How long does the salmon season go? Do you know?
They got there. I'm not sure.
Huh.
I really don't know. I remember last summer we had humpbacks in the area. What month was that?
Oh, June.
It was June?
Mm-hmm.
I remember Tree had her first COVID test. That's all I remember about it. We had a huge influx of humpback whales in June last year. And on the second morning of that, we went down to the Point Arena Lighthouse early, Peninsula, and there were guys from the cove that were trolling for apparently salmon, and humpbacks were right in around close to shore, maybe a quarter mile out, in around where the boats were. So it goes on at least, well, this is July, what am I saying? Yeah, June. So I'm not sure how long it lasts. I'm getting confused about what month it is. Yeah, I'm not sure how long it goes on.
Well, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Scott Mercer and Tree Mercer in the background out of the shot of the camera here if you're watching on YouTube. Or if you're listening in, this is KGUA in Wallala on the Northern California coast. This is Peggy's Place. I'm the host, Leigh and Lindsey, today sitting in for Peggy Berryhill, and we are streaming around the globe at kgua.org on our app Air Pocket app, and then also on Radio Garden and Tune In and on YouTube. And we are talking again with Scott and Tree Mercer of Mendoma Whale and Seal Study. And you know, Scott, when you talked about that conference coming up in December in Florida, it reminded me again of the conference that we all did with you two last year online. And it was the first time we figured out how to use Zoom with YouTube Live. And we did it 5 days that week, an hour each morning, with several different guests that you guys lined up. It was an amazing conference.
Yes, it was. And I would give a little plug to our friends up at the Noyo Science Center. Is it tomorrow night?
Yes.
Yeah, tomorrow night they're having a webinar with I think 3 people. 2 of them were in our previous symposium. Michael Stalker, who was in the first one, who was scheduled for both, and Jeff Jacobson will be the host of it. I think he'll also be speaking on acoustics like he did last October in our own symposium with you.
Now
so that's tomorrow night.
And tomorrow night, so they're going to be physically in Fort Bragg, but they're doing a webinar. Yeah,
it's from Noyo, and those guys will probably all be home. And Tree just handed me this. Yvonne Barkley, Michael Stalker, Michelle Fournet, and it'll be hosted by Jeff Jacobson. And all you got to do is go to the website for the Noyo Center for Marine Science and register. It's free. And it'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that's going to be a nice evening on the discussion of acoustics in the ocean.
Great. Well, that's a very important thing. And we really wanted to touch base on that last year at the Ocean Life Symposium. We really wanted to cover it. Unfortunately, we did experience a little auditory problem with one of the guests, and we couldn't hear his discussion on that. Was that Michael? I can't remember right now.
Yes, Michael Stalker, and he'll be on there tomorrow night at the Noyo.
Well,
webinar.
I want to catch that one because we missed it last time. He had unfortunate issues with his Wi-Fi. He had just moved, I guess, into new offices. So that is tomorrow at the Noyo Center that's going to be doing this. So just go to their website or Facebook page. Is that correct?
I think the website is the best way to go to that, the Noyo Center for Marine Science. And when you go there, they have a big announcement and a place to register for it.
Because the noise in the ocean does greatly affect the inhabitants there. And tell a little bit about that to our audience.
Well, whales are acoustic animals in the way that we're visual. They have eyesight, but eyesight in the ocean is greatly hampered by the visibility through the various species of plankton, both plant plankton or phytoplankton and animal plankton or zooplankton. And there's millions of representatives of those groups in the ocean, which gives the ocean its green color, really, the phytoplankton. And so that cuts down on visibility. Anybody who's ever stuck their head underwater, especially with a face mask on, knows you can't see very far. And it's the same with the whales. And they also go deep. And as you go down, you lose light. It gets darker and darker. So they require acoustics and good conditions for hearing. Many of the whales we know can live quite long, and 80, 90 years, and some even longer, like the bowhead whales. And when they were teenagers, their world was silent, fairly silent. And it wasn't until the industrial age and even around World War II, where so many vessels came in that were mechanized, that the ocean became louder and louder and louder. Now we have big ships like cruise ships and big oil tankers and freighters, cargo vessels and so forth just dotting the ocean with their presence, and they're all running big props and big engines and making a lot of noise, which in some cases has caused the whales to have to actually shout. A friend of mine has been working with right whales for the last 40 or 50 years. Scott Krause at the New England Aquarium has likened it to when you're in a noisy bar and you try and talk to the person sitting next to you and everybody's talking as loud, and so then somebody turns on the jukebox, you begin yelling, talking louder to be heard and try to carry on a conversation. And that's what whales are going through on a daily basis.
And how do they shout?
Well, they just have to raise the levels that they've been communicating at a little higher to try to get above the new ambient noises. And that's a problem for finding food, finding each other, mating. And mothers with calves that are traveling, they're staying in touch. And if they get separated and can't find each other, then it's hazardous to the calf's life. So the type of noise that we're talking about in industrialization too, not just ships, the industrialization that's going on.
And military operations, I would imagine.
Yeah, military operations, that's something we've been concerned about with the Navy's plans for weapons testing and more sonar testing in the ocean from Alaska down to Mendocino, which they announced last year.
Right.
And I mean, we're not in favor of oil exploration or drilling off our coast, but the concern with the windmills is that unlike on the East Coast, where there will be noise with putting the foundations in, because the coastal plain goes much further out here, a couple of 100 miles. So wind energy will have to be anchored down on foundations, where on the West Coast, the continental shelf drops right off, very close to shore. So that will all be anchored down with chains attached along the coast.
And that's right, the migratory path.
Yeah, and it's concerned there. Not so much. I've been watching quite a few webinars about this, and now on YouTube conferences that were held already about this problem or concern. And it doesn't look like entanglement would be a problem so much, or even noise, because the chains will be tight, and it's loose cables or chains that whales can get caught up in, but they will be tight. And the concern though is just possibly bumping into them. Michael Stocker, I know, has had some concern. He should probably will cover that tomorrow night on Noyo. He's been doing some work with that. He's a pretty brilliant guy when all goes well. And hopefully tomorrow night they'll bring up some of that. And Jeff, of course, does a lot of acoustic work, recording from his own boat. And he talked about some of that last year in our own symposium. So that should be a real good night. But yeah, increasing noise in the ocean is a problem for many different species.
Now, are you going to have another ocean life symposium this year? Or are you going to put it off for a year? What are your plans with that?
Well, right now we're still scheduled at the community center in November.
You are? Good.
Yeah. But we're working around the farmers market and grab and go. What's that called?
Pay and take.
Pay and take. Right. Pay and take around their schedule, just mostly because of parking, but with farmers market, because that doesn't take place inside the community center where pay and take does. But so
it would be here in the Wallala Community Center, not up in Mendocino.
Yes. Right in Gualala.
Okay.
And I did start a GoFundMe, which kind of stalled here for a bit, but because we need to bring people into the area, I wanted to offer hotel rooms. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but I do have a number of very talented local people. I'm waiting to hear from Elise Allen. I'm not trying to put her on the spot, but she's waiting to see what her schedule will be at Berkeley. And, she's working on marine science and also on the Mill Bend project, and very talented girl. And I'm hoping to be able to I've already spoken to her several times. We've been communicating about it. She's just waiting to see what her class schedule will be at Berkeley in November, possible exams. So really hoping Elise is going to be able to participate. We have Margaret talk. She does, well, she's been a guest with you, and she's going to be, she does Unbeaten tours.
Oh, yeah. Marge Lindgren.
Yeah, Margaret Lindgren, sorry, Margaret Lindgren. And I guess she'll be speaking about like the splash zone and a lot of what she talks about with her guests on the hikes. She even discusses the importance of fog, and we need to talk about all of that because that's important to the coastal life. What she also monitors the seabirds along there because she sees them every day, the numbers of nesting cormorants and so forth along the coast and other terns and pelagic cormorants. So she's putting together a very interesting talk. And of course, Sherry, she's going to be, she's the first person I asked when we first brought this up. She'll be discussing photo identification, and we'll be able to see a nice PowerPoint on that. The whales, now what she is doing is, Tree and I first noticed in 2014 that we had gray whales when we didn't think we were supposed to have them because they were supposed to have migrated by, and we were seeing them off of the peninsula, and from looking north out the peninsula, we were seeing them along Manchester Beach feeding right in the surf line. And at first we thought, what's up with that? And then we were doing more work along the peninsula, and we had them on going back and forth in front of us, right where I was sitting with you and Peggy that day,
right,
on the south-facing side. So we were unable with the equipment I had to photograph them effectively. I have gotten a few shots, but all of my photographic equipment was based on my decades of working off of boats here on the East Coast, where we get up closer to the animals like humpbacks, and when they raise their tails, you get a really good fluke shot for photo identification. But it wasn't working from the Lighthouse Peninsula as well because the whales are further out, and they weren't cooperating with me by coming in closer. But Sherry got a very large lens, which I've now bought here so we can coordinate our activities better. Like she could be down at Saunders Reef photographing, and I could be now up at the lighthouse where we usually are, or down off of Gualala or the regional park, and get photograph whales down there as well. But I did have 300mm lenses, which were more than sufficient from boats. But for our shore-based activities, 600 is much better.
It's really great to hear this collaboration and how you learn from each other too, and share.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
well, what Sherry's doing is showing some residency now. You know, we're seeing, what Tree and I were wondering was, are we seeing the same grays feeding every day? And what is the range of these whales? Are they going to, we've had reports of grays from Larry Anderson and other folks there along Sea Ranch, Donna Martinez for years. And we didn't know if we were seeing the same whales up off of Saunders Reef. They were gray whales, we knew that, but we didn't know if they were the same individuals. And with Sherry's work now, she's been carrying on alone, driving up and down the coast there, sometimes in 3 or 4 different locations in the same morning.
She is a trooper.
Oh, yeah. And she's been able to get these the shots of some of these whales in different places and at the same place over and over again, especially right there behind Trinks and the old video store in that area.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a pretty prolific area for whales feeding. Oh, people, you know, you can sit behind Trinks there some days and watch the gray whales out there working in the kelp, along the kelp bed. So that's been really important, is residency of individuals. So that's been a big help. So we knew we had grays there year round. And Donna Martinez sent me, I guess it was a screenshot. It's probably 2014 of whales feeding in July by her house on the Sea Ranch. And, we all thought they were all up in the Arctic feeding, except for the West Coast Feeding Group that does feed primarily along Washington and the Oregon coast, but they seem to be spilling down, or they are spilling down into our area, which we now know. That's what our presentation is about, the first one. Our second presentation is about the declining numbers that we're seeing because of the unusual mortality events and the decreasing food opportunities up in the Arctic. So there are also less calves being born. But our numbers, Tree was just working on numbers here before we came on, and she'll be talking about that here in a minute, but a few minutes. But she was, we found that our numbers kind of correspond with the bigger numbers from like the lagoons and so forth. The other estimates of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is coming up. Our project's numbers are very similar to theirs in the fewer whales that we've seen. So yeah, it's been an interesting 8 years, and we're excited to keep going. So
8 years, and that's the Mendoma whale and seal study that you're listening to. Scott Mercer, and Tree Mercer's in the background. She's going to be stepping in a few minutes to give us an update on numbers. I suppose, are you still able to do that, you guys?
Yeah, well, with the reports that we're getting, like Sarah Bogart's out all the time counting those seals, and she always has an eye out for whales, and she does photograph a few when she gets a chance. But just knowing that where people are seeing whales gives us a great idea on where this feeding is taking place. And I mean, that's important too. It shows productivity in the area can support these whales. Now, Bill Keener was up, was it last summer or something before?
Last summer.
Yeah, last summer. He works, well, he was running, he's the one who was doing the bottlenose whale, I'm sorry, bottlenose dolphin. There are bottlenose whales, but he's working on bottlenose dolphins, the range of the bottlenose dolphins along the West Coast. And he has Golden Gate cetacean research, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, it didn't sound quite right. Golden Gate cetacean research. I began noticing that bottlenose dolphins from Southern California, as far south as San Diego, were showing up off the Golden Gate and then up off of our coast, which showed a significant change in their range, and probably due to climate change, they're moving north. And so we were trying to contribute to that, but again, with the equipment that I had, I wasn't quick enough sometimes, plus we also weren't expecting them suddenly to be right in front of us. But we were giving him numbers and locations. And well, anyway, get back to gray whales. Bill and his wife came up to visit Point Arena last summer, and we met them one Saturday morning at the out at the peninsula. He gave a really good talk at Sea Ranch in the Del Mar Center. It wasn't that same year, it was 2 years ago.
It was earlier.
Yeah, the year before on his work.
Pandemic in between.
Yeah, I know, and it kind of blends together.
Yeah.
People keep telling me there are seasons there, but I don't see them. So I can never, since the weather always seems the same to me there, I can't always remember what was what. I can't say, oh yeah, it's when we had that snowstorm. Well, Bill was, when I got there, Bill was and his wife were already out on the cliff, and they were just amazed at the number of whales going by. And he said, these are adults. And he said, are you seeing this all the time? And I said, yes, we are. And I didn't ever want to say that we were seeing I just didn't feel that we've been doing this long enough to make pronouncements like this was an extension of the Pacific Coast Feeding Group. But he said, yeah, it is. So Bill Keener said it, it's good enough for me. So I mean, that's what we suspected. And we knew we weren't looking at juvenile whales any longer. We were also seeing some big ones out there. He was amazed that they could keep feeding in that spot off the lighthouse without cleaning it out. But they are, and it's been very exciting that way. And also to show that the whales are extending their West Coast range for feeding.
And I also wanted to remind our listeners and let them know that this is KGUA in Wallala. This is Peggy's Place. I'm Lindsey, and we are on YouTube today. So if you want to watch us and you can't tune in right now, you can always go there later and catch the video, and I'll upload this to SoundCloud, and our show does repeat at 1 o'clock today on 88.3 FM. And again, kgua.org, we can stream around the world on our Pocket app. And I am so fascinated to always hear your reports, Scott and Tree, because you are so connected with so many people who study the inhabitants of our oceans, and we are coastal living, and we need to know more about our neighbors. And that's why we love having you guys on the show, or Sherry, who stepped in for you one time too, the last time I think it was. So continue on. You were telling us, giving us some updates and reports that you've been given.
Yeah, and let's see what else. Let's see. Well, Sarah Boga is going to give a talk at our symposium in November on the seal numbers that she's seeing around Point Arena.
We love Sarah.
Yeah, I know. She's another one that's tireless. She's I keep telling her to slow down. She's working on a beach walk or beach watch, and contributes greatly to us. And let's see, she's also with
the docents.
Yeah, every time she comes on Peggy's place, she rattles off the docents, and I don't know, I can't keep track of it, but yeah, she has a lot of information, a lot of numbers, which are important.
So she's there in your symposium this November. What date again is that?
13 and 14 right now, but that's colliding with another, conflicting with another conference I just heard about yesterday. That so I wrote to help me out again, Leslie Bates, and last night, and
at the community center there,
to see if there's another date that might be possible with us. If not, we'll stick with 13 and 14. But unfortunately, this other conference is exactly the same, runs over exactly those same days.
Schedule.
But yeah, so. But Sarah's going to speak about seals off the coast, and this year I think we'll keep it more to inshore, not so much offshore, but the inshore work that's being done by people shore-based, like ourselves and Sherry, Sarah Bogart. Sarah Grimes has offered to agreed to speak. She's from the NOYO Center, and she spoke at our symposium last year that you ran. So Sarah Grimes will be back. Let's see who else we have.
Richard Charter.
Richard Charter has offered to come down, come up, I guess, from Bodega. And he's always a wealth of information, especially about the political realm of this legislation, and knows everything that's going on with the plans for offshore, this and that. So Richard's always wonderful to have.
He's always a font of information.
Oh yeah, fountain for sure.
Yeah. So I have a question going back to something you said earlier about some whales traveling south further, some dolphins going north further. I saw on your Mendoma Whale and Seal Study Facebook page that there was a beluga whale that had come south further than it normally does. Can you talk more about this? Is it all related to climate change?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was. I kind of forgot about that because we had one off the coast of Maine here about 2 weeks ago, not this far down, but further up in the down east coast there. Yeah, I think there was one that was down off of Southern California. Now that's really far out.
That's really far.
Yeah. And what would bring that down is belugas will occasionally wander like that. There was one that went down here off of this coast a couple of years ago that hung off of Newport. Well, anyway, down off of Rhode Island. And Newport, Rhode Island for a couple of weeks, and was entertaining all the boaters down there, and was up around Gloucester, Massachusetts, and then apparently must have gone back up to Canadian waters where they're supposed to be, or we think they're supposed to be. But the bottlenose dolphins you're asking about too?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Bill Keenan's been tracking those, and we're hoping to. We actually, since I bought a Nikon camera, I upgraded my camera equipment last year. we haven't seen a bottlenose dolphin since I made that investment. And now that we got the 600 lens, probably the gray whales will leave too. That's usually what happens. But we're hoping for the best with this. But Bill is, and everybody's wondering what's going on with the bottlenose dolphins, but they have now been seen as far north as Puget Sound. And one of the first people to get a photo up there was actually by accident, was Sherry Tarantino, formerly of Gualala and Irish Beach. And she worked at the Lighthouse and St. Oars. But she's involved now actually running the Orca Conservancy up in Washington State. And she was fortunate enough to have an apartment with a balcony that overlooked Puget Sound. And I think she still lives there. And she
Nice.
photographing some dolphins one time that she thought were common dolphins from her balcony. And she did it with a cell phone of all things and put it on Facebook. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, those look like bottlenose. And so I asked her permission and sent it down to Bill Keener, and he confirmed that they were bottlenose. And they were all the way up there in Puget Sound. And
way far up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure you could identify them individually through his catalog, but he was able to identify them that they were bottlenose dolphins, which was huge. And then Cascadia Research up there in Washington, they got involved too with getting out on the water and photographing some individuals that Bill could identify to Southern California. They're now up in Puget Sound. So, it's a significant moving around. And also with the harbor porpoise that had been common once in San Francisco Bay, and then it became so polluted, unfortunately, through the 60s, where we think things turned around. But the harbor porpoise have now returned to the bay. And also we've had harbor porpoise that we've had off of Saunders Reef and around Bowling Ball Beach. So they're moving north too. And we have been able to contribute that data to Bill Keener's work too. Well, Bill Keener is now affiliated with actually working at the Marine Mammal Center in Sausalito. So he's brought his research up into that organization as well, which is really valuable. Because they've always been responding to animals in distress, but now they have a real research arm there with Bill and his organization in there.
That's a really nice place there in Sausalito. I used to live there with my son many years ago when he was a little boy, before we moved over to Mill Valley, to the school system there. But so is it warmer waters then that's part of this, and maybe the food chain that they're following too, that causes this change in patterns?
Yeah, we think since bottlenose dolphin have been really indigenous to Southern California, that would be the warming waters that are pulling them up. They're going a little further, and it may also attract the food that was also more common in Southern California, their prey, which with warming waters actually moving north too. A lot of people are always surprised to hear that, but when I was a kid here in New England, we spent a lot of time out on the ocean. My relatives along the New Hampshire coast were out fishing and lobstering, and so I just spent a lot of time out on boats in the when I was preteen and early teens, and we did a lot of fishing and so forth. And we never saw bluefish up here, and now the place is just full of bluefish. They were more southern, so that happened. Actually, when I came back from California after college and started my whale watch company, the area here was full of bluefish. They were actually had become a charter boat fishing activity. And there were so many in the area, people going out blue fishing. So things do change as the water's warm. And the Gulf of Maine is warming so quickly. And I started a couple of decades ago and brought up different species. And we had seen them when I was a child or a young kid in the area. So, it does change.
Well, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to one of the top whale and seal experts, like I mentioned at the start of the show, on the planet. This is Scott Mercer, and Tree Mercer's there with him in the room of Mendoma Whale and Seal Study. I'm Lindsey. This is Peggy's Place on KGUA in Wallala on the Northern California coast. And we are broadcasting at 88.3 FM and streaming around the world at kgua.org and on apps, Radio Garden, and TuneIn. And we're on YouTube Live today, so you can watch us as well. And is Tree going to be joining you at all today?
Right now.
All
Now.
right.
Here she comes.
Scott, thank you so much.
Hello, Leanne.
Hello there, Tree. You're looking good.
Thank you. Feeling good.
Good. You're getting a lot of exercise, I hear.
That we are, for sure.
All right. What would you like to let our audience know?
All right. I would like to give us the final count of gray whales that we've seen for this season. And this season I began counting, well, really we counted in November, but we didn't see many in November, if any at all, maybe the last day in November. So I'm saying that our count began December 1st, and we observed straight through to May 8th. Now that we did leave for Maine earlier than usual this year, only because we had not been here for 21 months due to COVID.
Yes.
So here are our final,
here though.
yeah, exactly. So we had seen 702 southbound gray whales. We saw 609 northbound gray whales, and a total of 6 mother-calf gray whale pairs this year. Yeah. Now, I like to always compare that to previous years, because I think that's important to do. And our numbers were definitely lower this year, and I've done it by percent. Compared to the 2018-19 season, we had 22% less southbound whales.
22%.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty significant. But then again, I would like to remind everyone that the population estimate for gray whales, this is set by NOAA, that has declined by 25% from 2016 to 2021. So, and I think Scott mentioned how that's going to be the basis of a second poster that we're presenting at the Society for Marine Mammalogy conference in December. We're seeing if our numbers kind of reflect that decrease in the overall gray whale population.
That's the conference in Florida?
Yes, that's the one in Florida. Okay. Yeah, we were lucky enough to have. Oh, it's called the Society for Marine Mammalogy.
Okay.
Yeah, SMM, and it's international. It's biennial, every 2 years, and it goes all around the world. The last one was Barcelona, I believe, in Spain. It's been in Nova Scotia, South Africa. It goes everywhere.
Nice.
And this year it's going to be a hybrid. Those who want to attend in person, that they're making that venue possible, as well as the way we've been doing it through Zoom. So that should be interesting. Scott will appear in person, and I'll be home watching it through Zoom. So we'll get both perspectives of this.
And then we've got the outlier that's affecting us quite a bit right now, and that's the Delta variant.
Absolutely.
And our rising numbers that have tripled, hospitalizations have tripled over the last month. So
that's a real concern. It's also a concern.
It's highly contagious. And
that's frightening.
Yeah, it is. So that comes into play, and we all have to pivot as the word of the year last year and figure out if something needs to be done, then you do it. So
that's right.
Right now, that's the plan.
Right. We're fully aware that this may affect the symposium that we're planning, the in-person one in November. Scott and I were just having a discussion that it's possible we might be shut down, and then we're hoping maybe to have you help us with another Zoom conference again.
Yes, we will.
We'll cross
you
that
bet.
bridge when we get to it.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So continue on, my dear. You were giving us the number.
All right. In the southbound comparison from this year to the 1920 season, that was a little more promising. We were only 4% less in southbound. Okay, the northbound comparison, we from the season 2018 to 19 compared to this past season, we had 20% fewer northbound grays. Compared to the 1920, this is very significant. We had 32% less this year compared to just last year. That really surprised me, Leanne, considering that we did have some difficulty in observing last year due to the stay-at-home, shelter in place regulations. So that was an eye-opener to me, that big decrease this year compared to last year with the COVID regulations in place. So something to think about. We're learning all the time. Yeah.
And you wonder why? Was it because there was less traffic, less ocean traffic or activity out on the ocean? Who knows?
That's very possible.
Right.
That is possible. And I always like to give an update on the unusual mortality event. And I will say this, the trend is favorable. Each year since 2019, when the unusual mortality event was declared by NOAA on the gray whales, each year the numbers are declining. So that's certainly a positive in this whole scenario. And NOAA keeps reporting that they feel that they don't know the cause of all these strandings of gray whales. They are studying it. They have a team of scientists studying, especially in the summer feeding grounds up in the Arctic, in the Bering and the Beaufort Sea. But they're kind of telling us that these fluctuations in the population are natural, that it may not be a tremendous cause for concern, but at least they are studying it to find out. The gray whales did experience a similar unusual mortality event in the years 99 to 2000. And the population rebounded tremendously after that. So I think we're all hoping that we'll see the same thing this year as well. All right, let me get those numbers for you, Leanne. I have them here somewhere. Okay, here we go. As of July 1st, we have lost this year, 92 gray whales have been reported stranded. In Alaska, there were 8, Washington, 8, the state of Oregon had 2, and California has had 18. And many of them was right in our area, the San Francisco Bay area. Yep. I think, I don't know if it's as high as 16 of those 18, but it's a very high number of those were right here in the Bay Area. So total in the United States was 36. In Canada, they've had 2. Mexico had a high number, 54.
54 in Mexico.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. That certainly is. So we have lost 92 gray whales in 2021 so far. We still have several months to go, but we're hoping that no other ones are seen. But if they are, it's important to, use that data to try to solve this problem or find reasons.
Who does the investigation, the sleuth work that you need to do to find out what's causing these things? What groups do those?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do read about it. So NOAA selects these scientists from various research organizations, up and down this coast. And that if they're willing and they have the time to be on this team designed to specifically investigate the cause of these strandings of the gray whales. It's all people who have had a lot of experience studying gray whales, whales. They know the ocean climate well. Yeah, I keep reading about it. It sounds so fascinating, and I'm so grateful that they are, doing this to find out. I still think there's no doubt there is a disruption in that food web. Things are not right up there. There's less ice, less algae growing on the bottom of that ice. That's what feeds the amphipods that the gray whales feed upon. So, something is changing up there, and I highly suspect it's related to climate change.
Okay, and I know that some of the, mortality rates can come from ship strikes or getting caught in fishing lines, let's say Dungeness crab pots. I saw a good post about that on your Mendoma Whale and Seal Study page on Facebook, where I think it was in the Los Angeles area, but had been everybody was tracking this one whale that had this equipment wrapped around its body, and they were saying, just make sure that you note it, you photograph it, and let NOAA take care of it.
Right. That's absolutely right. The entanglements are a problem, ship strikes, absolutely. All of that certainly does contribute to, the difficulties that these animals face as they, try to migrate and search for food. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There is a lot of advancement taking place with the ropeless fishing gear for catching.
Good. I wanted to hear about that. Yes.
Absolutely. Our good friend who was a part of the symposium last year on your show, he did actually two talks for us. Zach Cliver,
yes.
He's been out in Kennebunkport over here. He's trying to get lobstermen from New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, anyone who will go out with him to test this ropeless gear. And he's gone through several of these trials, and he's so enthused. He said every one of them successfully brought up those traps without the use of vertical lines. And it's the vertical lines that pose the biggest threat to the whales and other sea animals, dolphins and porpoise and turtles, some that are so endangered, and they're getting wrapped up in these lines. So they can coexist. We can have a very lucrative and successful crab fishing industry, lobster fishing industry. They can coexist. It's going to take a while more. They have to be trained how to use the equipment, but it's coming. It is definitely coming. I feel so optimistic about this.
Go Zach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and his team, that's right. He's working with the developers of this technology. And, and every time they go out and they practice it and they put it through the testing, they learn more, they make small adjustments. And I just know that this is going to save the lives of so many ocean creatures. So
teamwork makes that dream work, right?
That's right. That's right. It certainly does. Yeah.
Was there anything else you needed to update us on in the numbers?
I think as far as the numbers go, I think I've reported everything that I wanted to report, which is great. And I'm very anxiously waiting our return. I do miss going down to the cliffs every day with the binoculars and watching for whales and the seabirds. I really miss that a lot. But we'll be returning in early September. So it's coming up.
That was my question next. When are you coming back? Okay, so early September.
We are leaving the day after Labor Day, which I believe will be Tuesday, September 7th. Mm-hmm. And I think just about 6 days after that, if all goes smoothly, we'll be pulling up the driveway on Iverson Lane once again.
All right. Your beautiful home there in Anchor Bay area. Yeah. And you have been listening to Ms. Tree Mercer and Scott Mercer of Mendoma Whale and Seal Study. And I have no idea what that sound was, but we are getting close to the top of the hour. Thank you so much, the two of you, for being on the show again this morning. We love having you on every month. Great seeing you. Can't wait to have you back here. All those things.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to talk.
You're welcome. And say goodbye to Scott for me. And he's there in the room somewhere. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you, Scott and Tree Mercer, Mendoma, Whale, and Seal Sunny. I'm Leanne Lindsey. This is KGUA in Wallala, and we're going to say goodbye to our friends and goodbye, everybody on YouTube, too. And